What is up, guys? It is the Sound Alchemist, and welcome back to a Warhammer 40k video once again. Of course, we're bringing back the 40 facts, as today we dive into one of my favorite armies in the entirety of 40k, the Xenos, known as the Tau. So if you don't know about the Tau, you should by now. But basically, they are aliens that aren't so good in close combat, and they're much better known for their long-range warfare. And because of that, you kind of underestimate the Tau up close. Usually if you get into close combat with the Tau, you are guaranteed to win. Either you're going to straight up butcher them, or they're going to flee and run away from the battle. And that was the case for many years in the battlefield, in the game. However, more recently, the Tau kind of have overcome these shortcomings with special rules, such as Overwatch greatly improved the Tau. And there's also, I forgot what it's called, but it's another ability that lets another unit overwatch the same targeting unit that's going to be charging as long as they're within 6 inches of one another. So this kind of helps the Tau firing line stratagem, or strategy. But again, when the Tau are up close, they're not in their environment. However, today we are talking about 3 weapons that are 100% made to be used in close combat that the Tau utilize. So, those weapons are, of course, Farsight's Dawnblade. We've also got the Diffusion Blades, and lastly, we have the Onager Gauntlet. Really powerful weapons from each individual source. Fusion Blades are really good because they're a mix of range and close combat capabilities. The Onager Gauntlet, it's a very powerful one-punch weapon. And then you've got the Dawnblade, which in Farsight's hands is really good. Now, just because you have these 3 weapons outfitted in your Tau army does not mean you want to be in close combat. You're still playing the long-range game, guys. Tau are good, but not that good in close combat. So again, let's dive into these 40 facts on these 3 Tau close combat weapons. Let's start off with the Onager Gauntlet. So the Onager Gauntlet is also known as the Fist of Dao Ryu, and it is an experimental Tau battlesuit close combat weapon that was intended to destroy enemy tanks. This gauntlet takes the appearance of a giant gauntlet. No surprise there. And it is shimmering with an immense amount of potential energy. This energy would allow an XV8 Crisis battlesuit to remain effective against armored companies of the Imperial Guard. This was mostly used as a last resort weapon, intended to be a one-hit KO once all ammunition was expended from the battlesuit. The Onager Gauntlet is a signature support system available only to the pilots of Chasvray rank or higher. With the immense amount of kinetic and potential energy available from this gauntlet, a Tau battlesuit could easily punch a hole straight through the side of an Imperial main battle tank, and also able to rip out its power core with ease. Being an experimental weapon, there were only 12 of these originally created, and they were all used during the Battle of Black Thunder Mesa, and it was only able to be recovered from a single battlesuit, who was being used by Commander Bravestorm. Also, his battlesuit was critically damaged, and it basically meant that this weapon was not ready to be used on the battlefield. However, when they did find Bravestorm's battlesuit, it was surrounded by the smoldering wrecks of over 12 Imperial armor vehicles. So it did the job, but it was a very dirty and a job that was not to be attempted again, at least not until they perfected the design. Pretty much to nobody's surprise, the commander who requested that this gauntlet be created was none other than Farsight. And it was during the Tau Empire's Third Sphere expansion that the gauntlets became more widely available to the forces of the Firecast. However, this weapon is still a rare sight on the battlefield, and it's usually limited to only 1 or 2 per hunter cadre. Currently in 8th edition, the range and type of this weapon is melee, the strength is a whopping 10 with the armor penetration being -4, and the damage is a d6. Unfortunately, there is a huge hindrance to this, and that is that each time the bearer of this weapon fights, it can only make a single attack with this weapon. So pretty much you're not going to be diving into hordes with this gauntlet. You're really just fighting tanks, or maybe a special character with only one wound left, but even at that, this weapon is probably a pass, unless you're using it to be thematic, or just trying to have fun. The next weapon that we're going to talk about is the Dawnblade. I've got many videos covering the Dawnblade. I've got a 40 facts on the Dawnblade, 40 facts on Farsight. I believe there is a whole other video on just the Dawnblade, so I won't go too in-depth into it. I'll just give you basically the most important parts, and that is that this weapon was found upon the death world of Arthas Malak. Now, the world that it was found in was known to be older than that of the Imperium of Man, and it was fashioned eons ago by a strange race that once inhabited this haunted world. The weapon itself is made of unknown materials to the Tau, and there is a chronophagic type of ability that surrounds it. Anytime this blade kills an enemy, the remaining lifespan of that enemy is then transferred to the wielder. So say Farsight is fighting a Necron Lord that, if he didn't encounter Farsight on this day, he would live to be 20 more years old before his demise. Farsight slices his head off, and now those extra 20 years that would have been available to the Lord have now been transferred to Farsight, thus extending his normal life expectancy. So because of this, the blade has now basically extended his longevity to well over 300 years. And because of this, even though Farsight is a little bit suspicious as to what's going on with the blade, if you ever really found out the true origins of this weapon, Farsight's pretty sure that he would commit suicide right then and there, because that's just the type of man that he is. So yeah, that was basically the gist of it. So now let's finish this video off by covering probably my favorite weapon for the Tau, the Fusion Blades. The close combat weapon known as the Fusion Blades is actually a pair of Fusion Blasters. Now before we jump into the blades, let's talk about the blaster. So the Fusion Blaster is a very short-range Tau Melta weapon that uses subatomic particles that cause a massive buildup of heat. This heat then completely vaporizes any target it is up against. It's very good against heavily armored vehicles as well as fortifications, and because of the nuclear fusion powered blast, usually tanks and any other heavy armor is reduced to molten slag. It is most commonly used on battlesuits, but you can also find this weapon such as on flyers, drones, anything you can think of, this weapon is probably on it. So now let's go back to the Fusion Blades. Again, Fusion Blades are a combination of two heavily modified Fusion Blasters, and all in all, they are a miracle of science. When the firing impulse is sustained, each weapon can then fire a constant stream of that nuclear fusion-based Melta energy, blazing right out of the muzzle and looking like a blade of pure light. Think of a lightsaber. That's pretty much what these things are. They are a rare Tau battlesuit weapon that was created not at the request of Farsight, but at the third bearer of the title of Commander Brightsword. You see where things are kind of matching up. Brightsword, Fusion Blades are a Brightsword. But anyway, these blades are a very strong close combat weapon that can easily vaporize infantry. They can carve through tanks. They can take on pretty much anything that comes their way. The 7th Commander Brightsword used Fusion Blades to carve out the freaking hordes of Tyranids. Not just that, but giant bio-monstrosities of the Tyranids. So this guy was going up against Titan Tyranids with Fusion Blades at hand. Just the image of that sounds amazing. I can't wait for that to be animated, which it probably won't be, but just the thoughts that are going through my head of like a freaking battlesuit going up against giant bugs is just amazing. However, there is a huge downside to the fusion blades, and that is that they consume an incredible amount of energy. And of course, because of that, they are prone to sorting out in the midst of battle. Because of that, they're not very used too often. However, they are very exclusively used by the Farside enclaves because close combatness, freaking lightsabers, it just fits the Farside theme so perfectly. But yeah, unfortunately in 8th edition, these weapons are exclusive to the enclaves. You have to go with that sept in order to use them, unless you're playing like a friendly game. So in 8th edition, their stat line is two ways. One, you can use them as regular fusion blasters, range 18, assault 2, strength 8, AP 4, D6 damage, or you can use them as a melee range type weapon with strength 8, AP 4, D6. So it's the exact same thing as firing a fusion blaster, just in close combat. And every time you fight with them in close combat, you have to roll only 2 attacks with this weapon. So it looks like they actually got rid of the short-circuitingness that can happen, which is really good, because it really sucks to like pay for this weapon, use it in battle once, and then afterwards like you roll a 1 and now you can't use this weapon again, which now you're really screwed because you're in close combat, which is not where you want to be, and now you've got no awesome weapon and you're pretty much just hitting with your fists. So that is like instant death for the Tau. And that's pretty much all the close combat weapons, or at least close combat specific weapons for the Tau that are mainly used by battlesuits. If there's anyone that I missed, let me know, whether it's a signature system or just a regular weapon, because I'm really intrigued by making a close combat oriented Tau army to go up against Gersh's orcs. Yes, I know this is a stupid idea, and yes, I haven't beat the orcs in 8th edition yet, but again, it's a fun idea to maybe try out. If you guys have any tips, tricks with using the Onager Gauntlet or the fusion blades in combat, let me know. I play Farsight, so I'm used to knowing how well his sword does in combat. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about these 3 weapons. In your opinion, what is your favorite Tau weapon? And maybe you can trick your opponent into thinking, oh, his battlesuit will never charge me, and then here you go, fusion blades roaring, and maybe you get like a crazy win or something like that. Probably not, but it's fun. Leroy Jenkins it up. And yeah, that's all I got for today, guys. Stay tuned because we've got more epic 40k videos coming your way. Finally, I will be putting out my official Celestial Sun lore starting this Sunday. I'm gonna try to upload every other Sunday, so Celestial Sundays are coming your way. This is gonna be the official lore behind my Primarch, my fan Primarch, that is, my fan chapter lore. So again, check it out. I'll probably be making a new playlist specifically for that, because there is already a Celestial Sun playlist, but it's like there's a whole bunch of like 30 videos in there, and it spans like a huge variety of videos. But this is going to be like the official stuff that's set in stone, that I'm not changing, that I like, and that will hopefully be made into a codex. So we'll see where that goes. Yeah, that's all I got for today. Keep hitting that thumbs up button, keep commenting below, and stay subscribed for more 40k content. This has been the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and I'll be seeing you guys tomorrow.